Welcome to Celebration Conversations. I'm your host, Sarah Taylor Young. Join me each week as I talk to singer-songwriters, artists, and friends about how they have turned their pain into purpose. Here at Celebration Conversations, it is my hope that you find motivation and celebration in your own journey. Let's get to it.
So tell me a little bit about, I've already started recording, just FYI. I thought, well, we're having a good conversation. I'm just going to let this flow. So tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing as far as COVID and, being a musician. That's hard.
Well, what I'm trying to do I'm trying to keep things going, because I do know, here's my degree coming in my head that things are going to, I think things will eventually change. I think things will get better. I believe they will get better. So, and musically, anytime you kind of stop and wait for the flood to go by, people forget you. It's just because there's so much talent out there and so many people trying to do certain things. You've got to keep, so to speak, the ball rolling. So when the COVID came out, and the television show has always been a vision of mine. I've always wanted to do it, especially living here in Nashville, part of the time living here in Nashville, part of the time living in Texas. They when the TNN kind of dropped off the face of the earth, and the Nashville Now shows and all those great shows that were on, you don't see a whole lot of music shows anymore. Like that was like TNN when Gaylord had TNN. So I thought, man, it'd be great to have a television show. And I know out there on the internet, on the cables and stuff, the RFD programs have had, Marty Stewart shows and this and the other. But I always wanted to do, but do it as a variety show. Several years ago on my cable, I was watching the old Johnny Cash shows that were filmed back in the 70s. And I sat there and I watched the show, and I thought, that is the coolest concept. It was Johnny, of course. He had Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys.
Yep.
And he had Manford Man, which is an old rock band from the 70s. And then he had a female artist. And I thought, that is such a cool concept. It's such a variety of music in the same show. So that's what I'm doing now with COVID going on. I'm like, well, let's do a television show. Give us some work to do. It'll give us something to go out there, so that hopefully once all this mess is gone and things start opening up a little bit more and we can start touring again, then it kind of gives us the edge, so to speak, business wise. We've got the television show going on. We got the single down in Texas playing, doing well down there, and my publicists were always doing the little clips of the videos out there on, of course, Facebook and all the social medias. So that's kind of where it kind of evolved, and I've been very fortunate with it, and the guys are happy because it gives them a payday. So
yes, we need that.
Because we normally rehearse 2 weeks prior to the filming, and then we've got a week of filming. So at least I can pay them 3 straight weeks out of the year. Right now.
That is 3 weeks out of 52. That's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I can get some money, So they're happy, and it's going well. It's going well. Second season we're real excited about, and getting it going. We start filming it in January 25th through the 28th. We'll start filming the second season, and then it'll be out sometime around April or May. And then once we film that, then I start working on the third season. So, because we have to, once we go into editing, we get it all edited, and then the networks will want the second season around April, and then they'll run those series until about October. About October, they'll want the third season. So it's an ongoing thing for me, having to put everything together, because I do, actually the way the show's formatted is I do 2 songs, and then my guest does 2 songs. Well, I don't want to do the same songs every season, so I have to learn 24 new songs every time we turn around. So it's a lot. Man. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun at the same time, So.
Yeah. So tell me, how do you find these artists? How do they get on your show?
I'm very fortunate, because in my career, I've traveled with a lot of great artists, and performed with them. Was part of their band before I still had my own deal, but you know, you kind of got to offset the income a little bit. So
Right.
actually, the band that I have, we all toured with Earl Thomas Conley.
Okay.
And we were all with Earl for about 7. I was with him about 7 years. Some of the band members had been with him prior to me. And then when Earl retired in 2015 and unfortunately passed away about 2 years ago, when he retired, the band was like, well, what do we do? And I said, well, I've got my thing. Why don't we venture off and go play around and do something, you know? And so they all decided to come with me. But during those times with Earl, and I traveled a little bit with Eddie Raven, and I got to meet a lot of artists, you know, like the Bellamy Brothers and Shenandoah and Diamond Rio and all
Very
these
cool.
guys. And so we did shows together, and a lot of them are great friends of mine. And so now we just kind of, with my contacts and along with my publicist used to work for Arista Records here in Nashville.
Okay.
And so she's got a huge, from Leroy Parnell to I mean, just her list goes on and on and on. So basically what we do is we just kind of put the word out. Hey, we're filming, and it's kind of, we film on Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And that way we're not interrupting with anybody's road schedule, because most time you leave, you know, times have changed. You know, years ago, we've always heard about bands that had, you know, they were gone for 6 weeks playing all these things, you know, and I think times have changed a little bit. So it makes it really easy to get the artist to do the show, because we're filming on a Monday afternoon or a Monday night, and they're not doing anything. They're sitting at home. So why not?
Yeah.
So that makes it'd be different if I was trying to film on a Friday or a Saturday. That would
Right.
That'd be impossible, because they're trying to get dates and we're trying to work, you know, the road.
Mm-hmm.
So it just a combination between my publicist with her contacts that she's developed through the 30 years she was with Arista and doing what she does, and then with my contacts and actually me and the Bellamy Brothers, right before we hooked up this morning, I sent Howard Bellamy down with the Bellamy Brothers an instant message. Hey man, I'm doing a show. I'd love to have you guys. Let me know, you know, because we've done shows together. So it's just kind of a combination of that to get the artists. So I think we have a lot of new people, not a new artists, that are seeing what we've done the first season, and they're approaching. They'll send me a message. Hey, how do I get on the show?
Yeah.
I've got a management company that handles all the booking, but I just refer them and say, well, contact so and so at this number, and they'll be glad to talk to you. You know. So it's the second season. I will tell you, the second season is a whole lot easier putting the acts together than the first season. The first season we were involved in all that, the real center point of the COVID.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
it was really hard, but we caught it right there at the middle when things were kind of lightening up a little bit, and you didn't have to wear masks in restaurants and things like that. So we kind of slid in there, filmed, and got it done. And then all of a sudden it hit again, and then out of here, you know. So that's kind of what we did. So, but that's kind of the nutshell, you know. It's just anybody who'd want to try to get on the show, they can contact. We're eventually going to probably set up a website that you can go to and submit things and this, that, and the other, you know. But
Yeah.
well, so far so good.
Awesome. Well, I'll have to look into that. I'm an artist as well, so I'll have to
Oh,
look
cool.
into all of that. Yes, I have a single coming out. I'm a CCM artist. That's how I know Sherry Cranford and Ashland and all them.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the genre that you guys are trying to market to. Is it one specific genre, or are you just kind of having an eclectic mix of things?
Well, as far as the television show or me? As far as the television show or just in general?
The television show, but we can talk about yours as well.
Well, my thing is musically is that you know, I come from a bluegrass background, so
Okay.
I played bluegrass probably professionally for 25 years, and then I wanted to kind of branch out. And unfortunately, as a bluegrass artist and a band leader, I did the unpardonable sin, and I hired a steel player, an electric guitar player, and a drummer. So.
So why is that a unpardonable sin?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, it's like I had done some shows with Bill Monroe back when he was alive, and you know, we're not that straight traditional bluegrass sound.
Okay.
And so you know, there's a lot, and that's not knocking the bluegrass. I love the genre of bluegrass, and I love playing bluegrass, but you know, some of the fans they're not too open to having a drummer. So
Oh, gotcha. Yes.
And that's fine. So, and I kind of wanted to branch out a little bit. I'm the kind of the one type that if I hear something musically in a song, I'm going to add it. For example, I was doing a gospel song on one of my CDs, and I kept hearing this sound in my head like a snare drum, but I didn't have a drummer, and it was a gospel tune. So I went. This is the funny thing. I went into the break room of the studio, and I filled a styrofoam coffee cup halfway full of sugar, and then I put duct tape over the top of it. And then I went back.
Okay.
I went back in the booth, and I told the guy, I said, just play it, and just let it record. I'll do this when I want to do it. And I just stood there and I just shook this thing, and it was like and it sounded like a snare drum.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I couldn't afford a drummer, so I was hearing this little snare effect in the song, and it worked out great. And to this day, I don't think anybody knows that it's just a half a cup of sugar that's being done. But I hear things like that. On that particular gospel song, I was hearing a orchestra. I was hearing a cello. I was hearing a viola. I was just hearing these things in my head. And so luckily, the fiddle player that I had at that time, very talented. So he came in and played the viola. He played the fiddle, and then he harmonized with each instrument, but he only played two instruments. He played the viola and he played the fiddle. And so when you listen to the recording, it sounds like I actually have like this 6-string section behind me.
Cool.
And it's really cool. So that's the way, that I work, but with my music, because when I hear it, if there's something that fits, I'll do it. We're now kind of classified as Americana because I really do kind of a combination of a bluegrass root, but it's got the commercial feel to it with the drummer, the electric guitar player, and the steel player, and that kind of thing. Steve Henson, who's my steel player, he's awesome. He was with Randy Travis for many, many years, and Steve plays dobro, lap steel, and the steel, so it works out really well. For him. As far as the show's concerned, we looking for that variety. I want it to this kind of sound kind of weird, but if you like me, great. If you don't, but you might like my guest. Right. I want a variety. I want to be able to appeal. Just because I may do Americana, I try to get the guest on that night. I want to the second show, like Jason Crabb, who's a very good friend of mine, contemporary Christian artist. He's doing a night with us, so it's going to be a gospel night with contemporary Christian music. I'm working on, if we have enough, depending on what the schedule is. I've got a good friend of mine that's got a very wonderful, very talented Irish trio, and they're amazing. They're like the Chieftains, but it's an Irish trio. Well, right. I'm gonna come on the show and do my thing. I'm not gonna do Irish, but I'm gonna let them do Irish. That way, when you're watching the show, you hear some Americana bluegrass with me, but then you hear an Irish band, or you hear a rock band, or you hear a jazz band, or whatever. And that's where the show's going. That's what I want it to go to.
Very cool.
That way, when we're watching the show, it's not just because we film here in Nashville. I don't want it to be, it's just another country show.
Right.
That's not what I want. That's what I want. I want to appeal to all different genres of music. My grandson wants me to. He's 14. He's a drummer, and he's into death metal. And, and he's wanting me to book. He's wanting me to get Five Finger Death Punch. I don't know if you've ever heard of Five Finger Death Punch. No. Everybody should go out. I'm telling you what. The musicianship with these guys are amazing. They're just out of this world. And if you get past the rock thing, but when they harmonize, I'm telling you what, when they go to harmonizing, their vocals sound like the old bands like Kansas and Styx and Journey. I mean, they are wonderful, but they are death metal. So, so I'm going to have to kind of, my producer was like, he said, Jimmy, he said, I understand what you're doing, but we got to kind of be careful with some of the, because he's into Avenged Sevenfold and Five Finger Death Punch, and all those guys, but they're very talented. So I have to kind of watch where I'm going. I had a great possibility of getting 38 special this year on the show, but the scheduling didn't work out, and they're hoping to do the third season with me. But that's where I'm going with it. In an essence, just to show to tell you kind of where I'm headed with it. I want it to be a variety, because there's a lot of people out there that like 38 special that hates country, but they love 38 special, and that's what I want. That's the kind of the variety show that I want. Right now the show is 30 minutes long, and I want to have a meeting after we finish the second season and see what it's going to take to go an hour. I would love to go an hour just to see. And, you got to deal with your audience attention span, so you really got to get that way. I have really that genre, like kind of, and not that I'm trying to copy Johnny Cash, but his show was an hour long, and you saw that whole variety of music in 1 hour. I'm having 30-minute shows. I'm having to do it where one night you may see a rock band, the next night you may see a jazz band, the next night you may see, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We're playing with it, but I am trying to give it a variety, even just with 30-minute shows. So.
It sounds like it's kind of like America's Got Talent, but only for musicians and no judges. Similarly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing with that. I don't want it to be like that kind of show, and we want it comfortable. The biggest compliment that I'm getting right now off the reviews of the show is that it's professionally done, but it's relaxing. Everybody's it's relaxed, and that's what I want. I want it to be easy going flow. It's about the music, and it's like when we're doing our conversations, me and the guest are only talking maybe 6 minutes. The rest of it's music. You're not watching to hear somebody talk. You're watching for the music, and that's what I didn't want a big commentary, and everybody finds this funny too. I didn't want any part of any cooking. I didn't our show's cooking, and nobody cares how I like my barbecue, so why go down that road? I mean, it's not a cooking show. I'm not a chef, so I want it to be about the music. So, we have an artist on, we talk about what they want to talk about for 2 or 3 minutes, go to the music. It's about the music, and that's what it's about.
Yes, I love it. So tell me a little bit about your songwriting background. When did you start songwriting?
That just I've done a few things, but I've never really considered myself a songwriter. To me, that is such a talent in itself. When I first started, I would write with a good friend of mine that was cutting his teeth with professional bluegrass bands like I was, Ronnie Bowen. Ronnie's written a lot for Brooks and Dunn and a lot of fine artists. And he called me one day, this has been, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And he called me, we go down and meet down at Sony downtown. And he's like, let's write a song together. I'm like, Ronnie, dude, I don't write. I don't do that. He said, well, you got a story to tell. I said, okay. So I'd sit around and I'd write out like little one-liners or things that come in my head and this, that, and the other. And we'd meet down at Sony and we sit around this room and just for hours and just see, personally, that's boring to me. I'd rather be out weed eating, So
right.
I don't know. It's just, and so we would write a couple songs and now I kind of jot some things down, get a little storyline, and it comes together. I've written a couple, but it's one of those things where it's got to hit me, I like performing. But the songwriting, those guys are they're real true songwriters. I mean, I've got a publishing company and I'm with ASCAP as a writer, but I write when it hits me. I'm not gonna, pack up my bags and go sit on the lake today and say I'm gonna write a couple songs today.
Right.
I'm just not that type of writer. That hits me and I got a storyline in my head. I write it all down and then I try to figure out how I can shorten it, because the first couple of songs I wrote was kind of like Marty Robbins. They were like 14 verses long. It's like a book. And I'm like, okay, this ain't gonna work. I've got to figure out some way how to put my message into like 2 verses or 3.
Right.
And because Marty Robbins songs were always 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I have fun with it. And The last single we had down in Texas, I did write, and it was kind of cool. And the idea for the Secondhand Smoke that we had was
Yeah, tell me about that.
I had a buddy of mine that broke up with his girlfriend, and it was one of those things. And I don't know the song. I'm kind of taking it as she meant to do it, but I don't know. But it was like he broke up with her, and it was like every time he turned around, he would see her with her new boyfriend. And they were just like all over each other. He said it just never failed. He said, I could go to Walmart and there she is. I could go to Publix, there she is, you know, and hanging all over this guy. And it just infuriated me. And it just kind of came to me, Secondhand Smoke, and okay.
Great.
And that's kind of the way the song goes, you know. And so that's kind of what inspired that one, you know. But and I've got a few, you know, I've had a few others, but I enjoy the writing when I'm in that mode, you know, when it's got the storyline and this, that, and the other. And I probably, you know, if I would put my heart and soul into it, I could probably do a little more than what I do with the songwriting. But I'm kind of like one of those, you know, not to say that I have a hit, but I'm like one of those one-hit wonders. I'll write a good one, and then the rest of it's junk, you know. You know, and that's the hardest thing I have found with the song and dealing with songwriters and also musicians, because my producer Sonny LeMaire, that's the bass player and is one of the founding members of Exile, and great writer. Him and J.P. Pennington, the lead singer with Exile, are just tremendous writers. And that's the hardest thing for me to deal with other writers, is to, if the song, because I don't want to insult anybody. I'm scared I'm going to hurt their, you know, I don't want to hurt their feelings in any way, because when I was dealing with Sonny on some new songs for a new single, he was like, well, what about this one? And I kind of, you know, okay, you know, I didn't like it, but I didn't want to say it to him I didn't like it. And so he could just tell by my expression, and it's like, okay, you don't like that one, let's move on, you know. And I mean, how do you tell a songwriter that your song stinks, you know? I don't want to do that, you know. Right. But you know, I'm slowly learning that they all don't care, you know. It's not, they know that the true songwriter, they write good ones, but they write bad ones. But then some are good for some people, not good for the others. So I'm slowly learning to be able to get this hardcore and say, nah, man, that one stinks. Give me another one, you know. So, but I still try to be a little bit more polite about it, you know, because I don't want. It is a craft, and it is a talent, you know. I've always felt like my life was not hard enough to be a songwriter like some of those guys. The lines. I mean, it's like some of the songs are just tremendous. I'm like, man, you know. But it's funny. Now, I don't know how you are as an artist. You know, you can listen to that song. It's like, but you can relate to it.
Yes. Yes.
Like, you know, I could have wrote that. You know, if I'd have thought about it, my life has been that way. You know, I could have wrote that, but you just don't. To me, being a songwriter is like being a great guitar player or bass player or whatever. It's just a talent.
It's a craft.
It's a very craft. It's one that has to be developed, and I just like I said, I do it. I do it when it hits, and if it doesn't, I don't worry about it either. You know.
Yeah.
My ambition is not to really be this you know, to make my life about songwriting. You know, that's just not me. I like to travel too much. I like to get down the road. And
you like to be doing stuff.
I like to be doing stuff. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Sony met down at Sony a couple of times. I told him, I said, man, you got the boringest job in the world. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you just sit around in a room. That's all you do. You just sit around and you write songs, and you get up and go have some coffee, and you come back and you sit down. I'm like, golly, dude, you know, wears me out. But that's just me. I'm just, you know, I'm constantly always doing something, you know. It's just, you know, it's like this time of year, you know, how the music business kind of slows down because of the holidays.
Yeah.
That drives me insane.
You like to be doing stuff.
Lee, I never understood why people take off a month for Christmas, you know.
Ooh, I don't know how I'd do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought Christmas Day was one day. Let's move on. I got business to do. Work to do. Let's move on, you know. So
Tell me about a time in life where music has just really helped you get through something.
Music helps me get through. Well, you know, really growing up, because I started playing when I was 5. My father
Okay.
gave me a guitar from a flea market, a $5 guitar at a flea
Wow.
market when I was 5 years old, and started playing. And that's all I did. I mean, I was one of those kids that never went out and played ball with people. I just sit in front of here I'm telling my age. I sit down in front of the phonograph record, play the records,
The actual
music,
records, yeah.
and turn the needle. And if I miss that lick or hear that vocal, I pull the needle back and I go over here and play it again, and that's what I would do. And I would just play in front of a stereo for 5 or 6 hours, 7 hours a day,
Wow.
and got a job, got asked to come with a band when I was 9 years old, started playing this bar in Charlotte
Wow.
when I was 9. And it just took me, the music just, it was, I don't know, it was like God, how can you describe it? It's like just taking you to another place. You didn't worry about this over here. You didn't worry about homework or a test tomorrow, whatever. It was just, it flowed. It took you into another life, so to speak, that was calmer, and there was no pressure, and there was nothing of that nature. When I got into college, going to a military school and training to go in the Marine Corps, it was the same way. It was like it takes you away from all that garbage, so to speak, that you're having to deal with, and you just, now I'm in my comfort zone. I'm in my peaceful valley here that I can just do my thing and nobody bothers me. And I think all musicians are like that in a roundabout way. It takes them away from the pressures of life, or just the pressures of doing your job. And that's the way I really appreciate my life, because I have that with an accounting practice and everything that else that I do. It gives me this, I can leave it and come back, leave it and come back, and it just kind of keeps you level-headed, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps me all the time, because it's just, when I get frustrated or whatever, I'll just shut the phone off, shut the TV off, and just come out here and just put on a CD and just by myself, and I love it, and it just takes me away. So it's relaxing to me.
Yes. I remember growing up, I was going through stuff as a teenager, and I would just play on my clarinet. I was in the marching band. I would play clarinet, or when I come home from school, first thing I would do was put on my karaoke machine and just sing at the top of my lungs to some Reba McEntire, and it just, like, the pressures of the world just kind of melted away. I mean, what pressures you have as a young teenager.
But you still, even as a teenager, you have pressures, and coming up, and you get into your pre-adult life of 17, 18 years old. You don't know really where you're headed, where you're going. Me personally, I was a little different. I was that type that was like, all right, let's get it done. I got things to do. So, I had several chances to go professional playing, even when I was in college. But okay, no, I need to get my degree. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done. Get it over with, and so to speak. And so, I got my bachelor's degree and minor degree by the time I was 21. So I'm done. So I'm done with that life. Okay, now let's move on. Now we can go out and play.
Yes.
And, it was like when me and my wife got married. We had 3 kids, and I told her, I said, well, if we're gonna have them, let's have them. Let's go. I got things to do. So I told her, so by the time we were 26 or 27 years old, we already had 3 kids. I mean, I'm 57.
Wow.
My kids are already grown. I got 5 grandchildren. I've been a grandfather since I was 46. So I mean, which I love it. Because I'm still young enough to go do whatever, and I don't have to change diapers no more. So I'm digging that. Right. I'm loving it. Now it's time for me to go play some more. But I'm just always that type. But I think that music, for me, like with you, what you're saying, it takes you away from that for a while and gets your mind, okay. It always refocused me, because it allowed me to get away from this mess over here for a while. And I concentrate on this and play around and be creative or do whatever. And then, all right, now let's sit down and do my homework. So,
So you mentioned you were a lawyer or an accountant?
No, I'm an accountant by trade. I went to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, military school and minored majored in accounting and got an accounting degree and minored in law and just to play around. I did that, to be honest with you. I did that so that if that big if I was ever offered a record deal, I would know what they were talking about, you know. You know, but you know what's funny? You know what's funny is, and I don't know who's going to hear this interview, but I got to say this. I'm not going to mention names, but I've had one record label tell me that I would never have a deal, never.
Wow.
I said, really? It has nothing to do with music. It's just because my accounting. The guy told me with the rep, and I think he's dead now. This is 25 years ago, and he said, "You know too much." Whoa, okay, you know. I said, okay.
Wow.
So that's the reason I've always just done things on my own. You know, they don't, you know, because with my accounting degree, I mean, I know cost of goods sold, I know inventory, I know depreciation, I know the tax laws, I know what, you know, and then with my minor, you know, I know how to read contracts. You know, I know what the therefores and the whereases are, what they mean. And I don't know it all. Of course, I've got an advisor if I ever got to that point, but I know enough about it to kind of look at it and say, okay, this don't sound right here, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't know. My education may be a curse musically. I don't know if it's been a blessing or a curse, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned doing a lot of divorce cases.
Yeah. Yeah, I do, you know, with my accounting practice, I've got about 3-4 companies that I do their accounting work for. And then I do about a little over 1,400 tax returns a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And out of that, I end up normally with about 17 to 18 divorce cases a year. And
Okay.
getting a divorce and the clientele that I deal with, you know, you read people. Musically, people can read people anyway because you deal with somebody.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel things. And I can notice when they come in and I'll say, you know, we'll get into this. Talking and I'm like, okay, have y'all seen a lawyer yet? And they'll look at me like I got 6 heads. I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, how did you figure it out? I said, well, just your actions, your demeanor, other. I said, I can feel it. I can feel something's happening here, you know. And they're like, well, what should we do? And that's when I give them their tax advice and this, that, and the other. And first thing I always tell a divorce couple, I said, look, the problem's between you two, not between you and the kids. So don't go to a lawyer.
There you go.
You're going to make a lawyer rich. That's all you're going to do. Because y'all aren't going to agree on something. He's going to go to the courtroom. He's going to apply for continuance. He's going to come back and charge you $1,500 for that continuance. And then you're not going to like something in the will. You want the tractor. The husband wants the tractor. So you're going to write a letter where the lawyer's going to charge you $350 to change that into paperwork to take the tractor out. I mean, they're just nuts. I said, so I kind of advise them a little bit. And some of them listen. Some of them end up going to a lawyer and paying out the yin yang, you know, whatever. But and then I got to tell you this. I did have one case that came in, and they were all giggly and this and the other. Well, 2 years prior to that, they divorced, and they were all giggly. And I looked on all their paperwork, and the paperwork said the same address. And I'm like, and I knew then what had happened. I said, y'all back together, aren't you? They said, well, yeah, we're just living together. I said, really? I said, yeah, it's been great. I said, oh, okay. And I looked at him. I said, so it's something about that marriage certificate that blew the whole deal. She goes, you know, so they did. They divorced legally and then moved back in together, and they're fine. They got kids together. Life's great. They love it.
Wow.
They're
That's
just
crazy.
not married anymore.
Yeah.
But they get along. They get along better now than they did before. I just think it's kind of funny.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I am a domestic violence survivor ×2. That's kind of what I base my artistry upon, shining a light on domestic violence. Do you ever have any cases like that where you've had, you know, one spouse is just trying to escape?
No, not really. My thing is I have several of them that deal that one of the, you know, the wife. I did have one case where the wife made big money, and the husband did what he did and making money as far as what he did for a living. They had 3 kids, and she just went after.
Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you and your show. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for being on. I
I
appreciate it
appreciate
so
it.
much.
I appreciate you allowing me to come on, and maybe we can do it again sometime. And um, hope we got what you wanted with the viewers and the listeners. And you know, I have a lot to say.
Yeah. Yes, I'm intrigued about this show that you're doing. It sounds like a really, really cool thing.
Hey there, don't go just yet. Be sure to hit subscribe to be notified of new episodes of Celebration Conversations each week. Show us some support by liking and sharing to inspire followers and friends alike. Follow me at syoungmusic on Instagram. I would love if you left a comment or a review about the episode.
I know with just one word, you make this whole world turn.